Good morning, everybody. My name is Amanda McCordic, and I am the founder of Dragonfly Reiki Marketplace. And today I just want to kind of share a little bit about kind of where it came from, how it came to be, what we're doing right now, and what we see in the future. And I want to first thank you guys who are attending, whether you're attending in real time or if you're listening later on. I really am very grateful that you have taken time to come and learn about me and about this community that means so much to me. Um, I recognize that there is a constant pull for your energy and attention, and so we try to make the most out of it when we get some of your attention and some of your energy. So I would like us to start just by really calling in the energy and grounding us. So we are just going to start with just a short invocation. So I just invite everybody just to allow yourself just to be calm and present in this moment. Bring your hands into Gasha, which is just your hands together in front of your heart. And just allow yourself to settle and be comfortable in this moment. And I invite you to take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Push it all the way down to your belly. Slowly release out through your mouth. Let your shoulders drop. Let your body settle. There's nowhere else you need to be right now. So just allow yourself to be fully in this moment. And I call in all the symbols that I have now or may ever have, known or unknown, named or unnamed, to guide and direct me in all that I do, taking out my unhealed ego. I ask energy from the highest heavens to guide this presentation, our time together, and all things associated with Dragonfly. I give gratitude for all those who are here today and all those who will listen later. There is nowhere else we need to be right now. Today isn't about learning everything. It's not about having all the answers, but rather it's simply about being open to the possibility, to what Reiki wants to unfold for each of us on our own individual path and as a collective. We give gratitude for the ability to be here together in this community, learning and growing. I call in all the symbols I have now or may ever have, known or unknown, named or unnamed, again to seal in this energy. And so it is. Thank you all. So I'm going to start with my story, and it's going to be a very, very, just like Jeff, just as Jeff said in his presentation that went just before me. It's a very much a snapshot. Who knows? Someday there may be a 12-part Netflix special story of my life. So I am going to do my best to keep on track because I don't want this to be all about me. A lot of you have already heard my story, and if you want to know more about it, there's lots of, I've appeared on lots of podcasts and shared lots of different parts of it. So I wanted to start with where I was before Reiki, before Reiki found me. And I had heard about Reiki in passing. It had kind of circled in my life a few times, but I had never taken the time to understand what it was. And it kind of was in one ear and out the other. So before Reiki, I found Reiki, or Reiki found me, in December of 2019. So if we look kind of before that time, I was a lawyer. I had my own law firm. I still do. I had kind of developed a specialization in high conflict divorces. So if you have one of those divorces that was going on 6 or 7 years and where there was terrible allegations and abuse, you know, many of those people ended up in my office. And it was a difficult job. It is a difficult job. It's a difficult career. I used to say that, people go out and make this terrible, terrible mess, and then they would come and kind of hand it to me, and it was my job to kind of untangle it. And externally, I looked very successful. So I was 36. I had my own law firm. I was married to my partner. Me and my first husband, Matt, had gotten together when I was 21. And in many, many ways, we were madly in love. There were times where I used to think that there was no two happier people than me and him together. We had both come from, very humble backgrounds as far as finances go. He had built a very successful air balancing, it's like a subcontracting engineering thing. So he had built a successful business on his own, and then in turn, that had allowed me enough financial freedom to leave my government job where I was a legal aid lawyer and to start my own firm. And on the outside looking in, like we were killing it, right? We have a big house. We both always drove new SUVs. Besides that, we had all the toys imaginable, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, skidoos. We even had a boat for a while. So we had, all the outward signs of success. You know, um, I had lots of jewelry, went on great vacations. We had two kids, have two kids. So my first husband, Matt, brought a son with him. He was 9 when he came to live with us. And his mom passed away about 6 months after he moved in with us. And my daughter, our daughter together with my first husband, Amelia, who was born 9 days after our son came to live with us. So Ethan and Amelia. So on the outside looking in, we had everything. Our whole backyard was set up and designed for parties. We were constantly entertaining. Matt, my first husband, was big and generous and kind and over the top, just entirely over the top. Matt Wilson style, we called it. But behind closed doors, it was bad. It was really difficult. I had met Matt at the bar where I had bartended for many years when I was in university. So he had been a functional alcoholic from really from the moment I met him. He never pretended to be anything else. Um, I was, I have ADHD and dyslexia, and I was addicted to pressure. I worked very, very well under high amounts of pressure. I thrived in it, or at least I felt like I thrived in it. So I told myself. And I relied on immense amount of pressure to get just an absolute massive amount of work done. So anyone who has ADHD kind of knows how hyperfocus is a real thing. And so I kept myself in hyperfocus all the time with just massive amounts of pressure from clients, from my husband, activities for my kids. I really felt that, yeah, I put everybody in front of myself. It never even occurred to me that I should save anything for myself or that joy should be a part of my life. I was very much focused on what I could produce and the other people's problems that I could solve, and basically for the people I could save. And I hated myself. Nobody would have guessed. I was friendly, I was high energy, I was jovial. I've always been a kind person. But alone in my room or alone in my office, couldn't stand myself. I could barely look at myself in the mirror. I didn't think about all the things that I was doing right or all the ways I was helping. All I could see were my faults, all the places that I was letting people down. My husband was dealing with really severe mental health issues that were only partially diagnosed during his life. And then his addiction issues. He had always been an alcoholic, but later on he discovered or rediscovered drugs and became, in the last years of his life, became very dependent on cocaine. And so on the outside looking in, everybody wanted to be us. But the reality behind the closed door was far, far harder. I absolutely loved and adored him, and I believe that he absolutely loved and adored me, but we both had demons. We both had we both had darkness, we both had unhealed egos and a lot of trauma. And that manifested. On the craziest nights, he would say to me, you're just as fucked up as me. And I was offended. I was so offended at the time because I thought, like, what are you talking about, buddy? I'm the one holding this together. I'm the one holding your business together and my business together and the kids' activities and the household and our finances and the pets. And I'm holding everything together while you go off and, hurt yourself in various ways. And so I was insulted when he said that. And it was only many years later after his death that I realized that he was absolutely right. That I was just as messed up as him. And while he was addicted to alcohol and cocaine and other dopamine hits, I was addicted to struggle. I was a workaholic without question. And I was addicted to him and his chaos and to the idea that I could save him. That I could save him, that I could, and every time, the flip side of that is every time I, didn't save him, I then hated myself for it and thought that it must have been a weakness in me. That if I had tried harder, if I had had my eye on the ball, if I had been this or that, if I had been skinnier, if I had been smarter, if I hadn't been so lazy, I really, it didn't matter what he did. I made it about me internally. And I wasn't suicidal. I wouldn't say that I was suicidal. But I absolutely know that there was many, many, many moments where I just wished that I didn't exist. And I will pause to say here, I meant to do this earlier, but I want to give a trigger warning. We will be talking about suicide. So I do want to give that trigger warning. And so we existed like that for some years. I continued to think I could save him. We tried to get mental health help for him. We tried, he went through cycles of, being sober and then falling off. Yeah. It all kind of came to a head in 2019. In September 2019, there had been kind of years of pretty intense cycles of abuse between me and Matt, where, at first it was kind of emotional and then it became very financial and, in the end it became physical as well. Yeah, it was a really rough time for many, many years. And in 2019 in September, I finally left him. So it's kind of a long story, but I had left him. And I had known from my training as a lawyer that the time right after a woman leaves is one of the most dangerous times for her. So I was certainly very aware of how much danger I was in, and that I, in many ways, was in more dangers outside of a relationship with him than inside. And all that fall, it was very, very turbulent. He was committed to the psych ward against his will, at my insistence. It was horrific, absolutely horrific for both of us, but certainly him. And actually then the psych nurse took me aside and said, you actually took me aside and told me to take my kids and to run as far as and fast as I could. Because she didn't foresee him getting the help he needed. I didn't. Even while we were separated, we were in constant contact. Because it was never that I didn't love him. It was very much, I was worried that he was going to kill me. That he was going to lose control. Because he had always had these periods of what we call the darkness, where he was just a completely different personality. His eyes, he didn't even look the same. His eyes went dark. And when he was in one of those episodes, it didn't matter how much he loved me the rest of the time. In that moment, he wanted to destroy me. And if not totally destroy me, certainly make me suffer. And he was really good at making me suffer. He knew me very well. He knew all my pain points. He knew how to twist the knife for maximum effect. And that was a pattern that we lived in for many years. So we were separated over that fall of 2019. He started getting some help with a psychiatrist and got himself into counseling. And of course, I was so eager to save him, to be his person, I had never wanted to divorce him. So as soon as he started showing any indication that he was going to work on himself, I reconciled with him. So we reconciled at the beginning of December 2019. Within days of reconciling with him, I was in Toys R Us with my daughter, Amelia. We were in the Barbie aisle picking out Christmas angel presents for kids. And, she's rattling on. She would have been 8 at the time. So she, very chatty, was rattling on about all the different Barbies and, weighing the pros and cons of which Barbie she should choose for this child. My bra strap fell down. And, I took my hand in and went to get it to pull it up. And in that moment, I hit something very hard. And it was like a hard boil, egg-shaped boil right here. And I just kind of paused because it was undeniable and it was massive. And so, we finished our shopping trip. I continued to listen to her kind of rattle on about the Barbies while I'm trying to process, like, what the hell did I just find? Thankfully, my nurse practitioner, I was doing her divorce at the time because where I live is a very small place. And so I texted her right away and said, hey, I found this large tumor-like thing on my left side. And I think I made some joke about, like, she probably wanted to fit me in quickly so that I didn't die and she'd have to get someone else to do her divorce. But before, I just want to pause. I forgot one key point of the story. In the middle of that fall, about 3 weeks before, so early November, I had gone to a psychic, and that was a part of my assistant at the time. It was a birthday present for her. I had booked us both sessions with this traveling psychic. Christy Flynn is her name. She's still operating. I think she's out of Toronto, but she offers virtual sessions as well. Anyway, so I had gone and had a session with her, and I really thought it was going to be fun, right? Like, I thought we were going to go tee-hee-hee, have some drinks, maybe some appies, go do our sessions, and then compare notes and laugh about the whole thing. And so I walked into my session, and it was very clear very quickly that I had been totally wrong about what was about to happen. Christy Flynn is both a psychic and a medium, and also a Reiki master. She was very good at telling me exactly who was there. She described my grandparents, my great-grandmother in very clear detail. Enough that I knew that she was the real deal. Like, it wasn't, the stuff she was telling me wasn't something that you could find by, looking at my YouTube, or looking at my Facebook. And just even the way that she would conveying messages, they were the words and style of the people, like my grampy. The things that she was telling me, those are things my grampy would say in the way that he would say them. And so very quickly I had real buy-in from her. It wasn't lighthearted. She told me all kinds of things about myself, and then she told me that I couldn't save my husband, that he was going to die, and that it was a matter of months, maybe a year, but certainly not years and years. And that though I could slow it down, if I held on too tightly, he would take both of us over the edge, which I pause to say is something that me and Matt had talked about for years. After these big, blow-up storms, after they had passed, I would often sit with Matt and just say, like, Matt, you're going to end up killing me someday. And he would always say, like, I won't let it go that far. I would take myself out if I thought that I was, I would never take your life. So that was something me and him had talked about openly for years. And this psychic that I'm meeting in this, hotel room is telling me, your husband's going to die. And, if you hold on too tight, he'll end up killing you too. And so she told me there was nothing I could do to save his life. All I could do was, hold on too tight. And that resonated as a truth. Like, sometimes you hear things and you just, that's the truth. In that moment, I knew that was true. Again, not the lighthearted fun I had expected. So we did the whole session. At the end of the session, she actually took my hand and said, let's. Oh, I'm just gonna mute you. There we go. Um, at the at the end of the session, she took my hand and she said, "Okay, let's check in on your health." And she said, "Oh, okay. Actually, we're just gonna leave that." I thought that meant everything was fine. But she looked deep, deep, deep in my eyes, right to my soul, and she said, Amanda, if you ignore everything else I've told you this time, it's really important that you call Pam Allen LeBlanc, who is a Reiki master who lives not too far from you. You need to go on her website and take the first available appointment, not the second, not the third, the first available appointment you need to schedule yourself in on. And you need to attend. I don't care what happens. I don't care what happens in your, you cannot miss that. Because I was a chronic counselor of self-care. She was so intense in that moment that I listened. I immediately went and booked the first session with Pam Allen LeBlanc, who is a Reiki master in the Holy Fire lineage. And her first appointment was 3 weeks out. So I just took it and I didn't really think too much about it, threw it in my calendar and continued on with my life. After that, I reconciled with my husband, like I was saying, despite her warning. And I kind of forgot about it. Fast forward to me finding that tumor. That was on a Monday night. Tuesday morning, I had my first Reiki session. And so for me, my cancer journey and my Reiki journey were hand in hand. And I'm so thankful for both. I had no idea what Reiki was. And I didn't even have the organization or the time to Google it before. Like, I rolled into that Reiki session hot. It was at a distance, which was one of the things that I really liked because a lot of times me leaving my desk just wasn't possible or just wasn't going to happen. But on that day, I actually created space because I had just found the tumor. I was in my bedroom, made myself really comfortable, and I remember thinking, I have no idea what this is. I did the phone call. It was over the phone. We chatted for a little bit, and then she put me in the energy. And I remember when she brought me back, one, I didn't want to come back, which I know is a common experience for people. But two, I was like, what the hell was that? I had felt comfortable in my body during that time, and I had never felt comfortable in my body, ever. And I didn't even know that that was a thing because I had never experienced it. I didn't know what it felt like to be comfortable in my body, to be peaceful in my own skin. And I remember laying there and thinking I didn't want to move because I didn't want the spell broken. I didn't want my Reiki bubble bursted. And I didn't have all the language for it at the time because I still didn't know what the hell it was. And I'm a fairly, I wouldn't say skeptical, but analytical person, certainly. And so, I was laying there and I was thinking, is this all in my head? Did this all just happen? Why do I feel this way? And I remember I had this moment of clarity where I decided I didn't care if it was all in my head. I didn't care if it was made up. I didn't care if it was real. I didn't care what the source of this feeling was. All I knew, I was desperate for more of it. I had shared with Pam about finding the tumor, and she had kind of gently said, not diagnosed me, but said, yeah, I think you might have some troubles there. I think it's something along the lines. And we agreed that we would start meeting once a week. She found space in her schedule for me so that I could start working with her every week. And I want to pause to say that I knew just how incredibly fortunate I was to, one, have the universe align it so that I found Reiki at the same time I found my tumor, but also that I had the financial resources to be like, yeah, I love this and I'm doing it every week. So I knew how fortunate I was, and I knew that I wanted more of it, and so I started doing it every week. Continued to make my way through the mainstream medical system. I was originally told that there was nothing that couldn't be fixed. And then later found out that in fact I was misdiagnosed, so it was much more aggressive than they had thought. So originally they thought it was a grade 2, which means there's a 3-grade system as far as how quickly or aggressive it is. There's stages and grades. And so I didn't know what stage I was at, but I was told that it was a middle grade. It was a grade 2, not a grade 3, which dictated the whole lineup of my surgeries and everything. I was scheduled for a mastectomy in February of 2020 and a reconstruction at the same time. By the time they went to do the reconstruction, or by the time they went to do the mastectomy, my one tumor had gone into 7. 3 large tumors and then 4 smaller lesions, I think they call them. But at the time, I was joking that at that time my left breast was more tumor than tit. And I kind of rolled with it all. The doctors originally had told me there was, again, nothing that couldn't be fixed. They had said I'd probably be off work for about a year. I didn't close my practice. I just kind of shrank it a little bit. I continued to work most of the time. And things kind of changed. I started doing Reiki, but nothing significant. I thought this was just going to be kind of a footnote in my life and in my career, and then I would continue on and figure it out. On April 2nd was actually the first time I met with my oncologist. They had done scanning and additional testing of the material that they had taken out of me during the mastectomy. And in the system where we are, all of that happens before you meet the oncologist. So I remember the oncologist called and moved my appointment the day before. It was supposed to be in the morning, and they had moved it to the last appointment of the day. And I remember that kind of caught my attention because I had handled my professional schedule long enough to know that when you have devastating news, you don't want to give that to somebody at 9 o'clock in the morning. You want to give it to them at the end of the day so that you can be done after shattering somebody's life. And as a divorce lawyer, I had given all kinds of bad news to people over the years. And I remember that got my attention at the time. And this was just when the whole world was shutting down because of COVID. So this is April 2nd, 2020. One of my best friends is end-of-life doctor, Kelsey. And so she had actually reached out and said, why don't I go to your appointment with you tomorrow? And I had given her permission before to kind of have full access to my medical file. So I'm certain that she knew going into it that I was getting this, the terrible terminal diagnosis. And so into my doctor's appointment I went. My husband, Matt, didn't go with me. I had actually said to him, I think you should stay home. Because I kind of had a sense that bad news was coming, as I said, and I didn't want to have to handle his emotions as well as my own. And so, sure enough, I went in. The doctor asked me how I felt. I said I felt great. She said, well, what about your back? Does your back ache? And I said, well, yeah, my back aches all the time. But I'm overweight. I sit at my desk all the time. I don't really exercise. I don't take care of myself. Getting older, yeah, my back hurts, but, I just kind of ignore it. And she said, yeah, you have cancer in your bones, and that's why your back hurts. So at that point, I had my largest spot was in my tailbone, and then I had a couple of ribs with some cancer spots as well. And that's when I found out that at the age of 36, almost 37, that I was declared terminal. My oncologist was very kind, but not a lot of hope. Very kind of to the point, which I liked. She told me that 3 to 5 years was the average for terminal breast cancer, but that some people go much faster. I learned later that though some people are women before 40, we tend to go much faster. And I kind of said, should I change my diet? Should I, all of that? And she basically told me that there was no hope, that I should get my affairs in order and go home and prepare to die. And she actually said to me, Amanda, because I said, should I start exercising? And she's like, only if it brings you joy. And, I got some chub on me. I'm definitely not an athlete, and exercise is not what brought me joy. And so I kind of laughed at that and said, no, that's not my source of joy. And she said, Amanda, just do whatever brings you joy. And I remember thinking, what a stupid thing to say. I didn't even know what brought me joy. Who had time for joy? I knew my children and my loved ones, watching them be joyful brought me joy and happiness. But as far as what brought me joy, what made my heart sing, I had no idea. I was too busy. I was too busy holding everything together. I was too busy building my business and looking after my clients and looking after my husband, and there was nothing left for me, and it never even occurred to me that I should have had something left for me. And so I went home and told my husband, told my family. Had to tell most of my family over Zoom, or sorry, over the phone and over Messenger, which at the time seemed terrible, but now I'm thankful for that boundary because I think I would have been consumed by their suffering if it had been in person. Had to tell my kids. So my son had already lost his mom, his birth mom, and now I had to tell him, that he was probably going to lose me, and we are very close. And then I had to tell my daughter, and one of the things my daughter said, one of the first things she said, is, I only have two parents, or I have two parents, and only one of them can look after me, and the one that can look after me is dying. And I was like, yeah, that's where we're at, kid. And the suffering that came from my daughter was the worst part of it for me. It was also obviously very hard on my mother. And I remember that first day going and having a bath, because the bath had always been where I cried. That was always kind of I always had been a big bather. And I sat in the bathtub and I cried and I raged. And I was so angry at myself. I thought, you asshole. You stupid asshole. You had everything to have a happy life. You have intelligence, you live in a safe country, you built a career, you are financially, in good shape, and yet you have screwed it all up. And so I decided that with whatever time I had left, I was going to heal. I was going to discover joy. I was going to learn. I was going to learn about myself, figure out why I thought the way I thought, why I was so hard on myself. And I decided, that I was going to heal. And that I was going to do everything in my power to heal both my body, my soul, my mind, all of me. Because that crisis opened up to me that, I carried a lot. I suffered a lot. I was hard on myself. I was so much harder on myself than I was anybody else in my life. And so I decided I was going to build the life I wanted for whatever time I had left. And I really doubled down with the Reiki during that time. I was continuing to do the weekly sessions. I had also started taking the classes. In May of 2020, I took my level 1 and 2. 6 months later, I took my master's. But it was Reiki that helped me process the fear of dying. In those first weeks, that's what it was. I made peace with the idea that I wasn't going to be there to raise my daughter. I had asked the doctor originally, both my original oncologist and then the oncologist I went to for a second opinion, can I live 10 years? My daughter was 8, was almost 8. Yeah, no, she was 8, almost 9. I thought if I can live 10 years, I can raise her, get her through high school. And that was my plan, 10 years. And my first oncologist had said, no chance in hell, essentially not going to happen. My second oncologist was ever so slightly more optimistic and said, highly, highly unlikely, maybe possible. And that maybe possible is what I really grabbed onto. And the world was really quiet then because of COVID. So the court was closed for the first time ever. We were all in family bubbles. So our house that had always had people coming and going, all of a sudden there was just me, my husband, my son, my daughter, and another boy that we had taken in. And there wasn't the distractions. All the distractions were almost gone. And one of the first things I noticed when I started really focusing in on my own healing was the tone of the conversation in my head. I started to push back against the critic that said you didn't work hard enough, you didn't try hard enough. Maybe if you had gotten off your ass and exercised, you wouldn't be here. Maybe, all those, because the critic was constantly going in my critic in my head went overtime. That guy never shut up. And so I started to push back against him. I started changing the tone. And I actually started envisioning me just being like, zip it, right? I would literally zip it to the critic in my brain. And I started challenging those long-held beliefs about that I had to work harder than everybody else, right? I say all the time, I'm happy to work twice as hard as everybody else. And I meant it. I meant I was happy to work twice as hard as everybody else. I expected to. And so Reiki first made me quiet enough to listen to those questions, and then it gave me the comfort to explore those and wrapped me in this kind of blanket of love so that I was in a place where I could ask those things, where I felt safe to ask those things, and where my inner voice felt supported enough to actually be heard. I silenced the critic and started listening to my own internal voice. I had tied my value to how much I could produce, how much I could solve, how much I could save others. And I started questioning that. Like maybe I just had intrinsic value. And this kind of, 2020, obviously was a transformative year. I expected to die really quickly. I found out several months later that they had expected me to die very, very quickly within a matter of months because the cancer was so aggressive. They didn't think the mainstream drugs would have enough time to kind of take effect in my body. And so I got serious about healing my body, my life, everything. And I threw myself into it in a way that maybe only a workaholic could. It became my focus. Discovered all kinds of things. That kind of continued on for the rest of the year. And my husband, Matt, when I got my diagnosis, he really did clean up his act. So he had quit drinking, he quit mostly using drugs. He really stepped up to do whatever he could to help me heal, including, I do a bunch of supplements. I do Rick Simpson oil, which is a cannabis-based oil. All of that he helped me navigate and figure out, and I cannot give him enough credit for that. I don't think if he hadn't been in my life at that time, I don't think I would still be here. And so, yeah, I became very committed to living and to healing, and at the same time, he became very committed to dying before me. He had said from the beginning that, he had been suicidal from the moment from as long as I had known him. But once he felt it was clear that I was leaving, he had said that he was very committed to leaving the earth before me. And I had actually said to him, like, I'll tell you when I'm dying. Like, I don't think I'm dying right now. So, like, just wait. So I really felt like I was kind of healing, and whereas he was kind of rushing to the bottom. He quit taking all of his medication for his blood pressure, his diabetes, his cholesterol. And though he wasn't abusing drugs and alcohol any longer, he was definitely still abusing his body. And we had this really pivotal moment in August of 2020, where we were talking about me taking chemo. And I had said to him, I'm not interested in dragging out my death. So I'm either going to live with vitality and all of that, or I'm going to die really quickly. And he had actually cried and said, I would never want you. As much as I hate the thoughts of you not being here, I would never want you to be here and be in pain. And I realized in that moment that that's exactly what I had been asking him to do for years. I had guilted and pressured and manipulated him into living for many, many years. And I didn't say anything. I had that huge kind of insight, and I just kept it to myself for months. In January of 2021, flash forward to then, I found out that they could no longer spot any cancer in my body, which was amazing. I felt like I had beat cancer, and I was done with that chapter. And during that time, I was doing a ton of Reiki, like a ton of Reiki. And I used to say to the universe all the time in one of my meditations, take anything from me that is not my highest good, except Matt. I would always add in except Matt. And I pause to say that's the wonderful thing about Reiki. It is consent-based. So it's not going to take from you what you're not ready to give up. It's not going to pressure you. It's not, and nor should the Reiki practitioners you're working with. And some of that was said in my own work, but also I would even say that in my sessions when I was continuing to do with Pam, that I was prepared to release anything that wasn't my highest good except Matt. And then one day in early 2021, I realized I didn't say that. I didn't put the qualifier on Matt. I just asked the universe to release whatever wasn't in my highest good. And I remember noticing I hadn't said it, and it's like, okay, are you sure? And it's like, no, I'm ready to let the universe do whatever is in everybody's best. Matt committed suicide shortly thereafter. He committed suicide in early March, late March, a few days before the 1 year anniversary of my own terminal diagnosis. And I won't go into the details of it, but it was pretty horrific. I did find him alive with a gunshot wound, and his body took several days before it finally accepted that he could not continue. And thank God I had Reiki. I had always feared that that's how it would end with Matt, but nothing could have prepared me for just how awful it was. It was a very strange time. There were moments of real clarity and lightness where I absolutely felt connected to him. I absolutely felt his joy and his love. But there was other times where I felt like I was drowning in grief. I had gotten into a bad pattern of staying up all night looking at pictures of our happiest moments. And that kind of played a bit of a trick on me, right? Because I got really angry. Like, how could he leave us? Like, look at the love we had. Look at the joy we had. And so yeah, that was, it wasn't necessarily a pretty period for me. And thankfully I had Reiki by then, and I was a Karuna Reiki by that point, and I had really locked in Reiki as a kind of one of the fundamental tools I use, one of my coping mechanisms. And after Matt's death, I was tired in a way that I had never known before. I had been tired during radiation. I knew what that was like, very exhausting. But the exhaustion that comes from that kind of loss and that kind of grief is really, it's unexplainable unless you've experienced it. Socially, everything exhausted me. I would go and visit the people I love. Like, I have a wonderful, wonderful neighborhood. I could only handle being with people for maybe 30, 40 minutes at a time, and then I had to retreat to my backyard. And so I got really busy, focused on healing again. I started having all these moments, these suppressed memories from my marriage come back up, and I got angry. I got angry at him. I got angry at me. I thought, how in the hell did you allow yourself to be an abused woman? You're a fucking divorce lawyer that helps other abused women. How was this your life? I got angry at him. I got angry at my son's mother as well, who had also passed away. I felt like, they had come and made this massive mess and just left me to clean it up, left me to deal with this poor boy that was so traumatized, and my daughter who was traumatized. And, I got angry. And at first I was like, Reiki Masters aren't supposed to be angry. Sometimes we are. It's part of the being human. We came here to be human. And so I started sitting with my anger. I stopped fighting it. I started acknowledging it. I started being curious about it, asking a lot of questions, inviting the Reiki in to help and guide me. And the healing I had was tremendous. The speed of it, which I was able to release and move forward and be thankful. And, I now talk about Matt all the time. I don't have to whitewash him. I honor his journey, the real journey that he had. And during that time, I was spending, hours and hours and hours a day meditating, sometimes listening to guided meditations, mostly listening to guided meditations, sometimes doing sessions, and a lot of times just sitting in the energy and with my thoughts. And this idea kept coming back over and over and over again, is that I had spent a lot of time spiraling when I should have been doing Reiki. And part of that was because Pam, my Reiki master that I had worked with, she had a busy schedule, so there was no short, like if you were having a rough week, you weren't going to get in with her that week. She was always booking out several weeks out. And I had met all these wonderful Reiki practitioners during my classes and the Reiki events I had done, but most of them weren't offering their services because they didn't know how to, they had full-time jobs and kids, and, they couldn't just leave their jobs, and they weren't sure about taxation and collecting money. A lot of Reiki masters are really uncomfortable asking for money for it. There's all these hurdles that I had seen and experienced listening to the Reiki masters I had met along my journey thus far. And the universe started unfolding in front of me that, this was part of my life purpose, that I have higher risk tolerances than most, that I'm very comfortable with business. I love business. And so that my purpose when I was ready was to create a place, Dragonfly, that would remove the barriers to practitioners sharing their gift while also making Reiki more accessible. no matter where you lived, what your finances, what your beliefs, what your understanding, what your schedule was like, a place where you could always come and find a practitioner that had been vetted and verified so that you knew that they were the real deal. That you could always find somebody there. And that's where Dragonfly started, this idea of just connecting practitioners with people who need Reiki. And the universe kept saying it was my special project. And I will be honest, this all happened in the summer of 2021. I spent a lot of time arguing with the universe about it. Are you sure you want to pick me? Like, why would you pick me? I'm not a techie. I don't particularly enjoy I don't love technology. I use it, but I'm not a techie. And it just, I fought it. Well, surely there's somebody with a bigger presence, or who am I, little Mandy from, Fredericton, New Brunswick, to do this? But the universe kept saying, you said you would do what was in your highest good, and you said you would let me guide it. So this is what I want. And so it did. It took me a long time to kind of take responsibility and assume the role. But I started, and if I'm honest, it has been so much harder than I would have expected. We had many false starts. I've had lots of temper tantrums with the universe where I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like make this work already. Our first developer, I spent just a ton of money on developing the first website, and it never worked properly. We would fix one problem and three more would pop up, and I just kept dumping more and more money into it. And I'd say to the universe, like, when is this going to work? And the universe kept telling me to focus on my own healing, that when I was ready, the platform would be ready. And I was still stubborn. I was still a stubborn type A personality where I thought, like, I can run this like any of my other businesses, and I can make a business plan. I can push this through. No. So in time, we had many, many false starts. I had this moment about a year and a half ago, so early 2025, where I really had a full-on meltdown with the universe, and I was just like, nothing is working. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm pounding my head against the wall. I have all these wonderful practitioners who are graciously, a part of this community, and I just can't get the website to work. I just can't get it launched. I can't get the marketing to go. And I said to the universe, like, find me a fucking solution or I'm done. Like, it wasn't like the super zen moment. Like, I full on meltdown. Redheaded temper tantrum. You can tell I'm a redhead. Anyway, so it was a redheaded temper tantrum. And the next morning I woke up and I thought of my sister who was home, who does love tech, but she was a stay-at-home mom with 3 little kids living in rural Canada. Very, very rural. And so I reached out to her to see if she'd be interested in helping me. And she was like, yeah, I've been looking for something to do. And so that was really, for me, one of the big missing pieces. My sister has taken over the tech side. And essentially, we come to find out that the first site, I describe it as like finding out your house is full of asbestos, right? We looked at rebuilding. We spent about $25,000 on trying to revamp the original site before deciding that it was just best for us to abandon it and start over. And so that's what we did in the beginning of 2026. We started over. My sister, along with Marta, our marketing lady, they rebuilt the website completely from the ground up, and we just launched the end of March. So it's all very new. It's all very exciting. Just checking my time here. Sorry, I could go on about this stuff forever. So we're now live. The new site is now ready, and the universe is right. If I'm honest, I wasn't ready last year. I wasn't ready the year before that. I really did have to get serious about my own healing, getting comfortable being seen, being comfortable, just comfortable in my own skin. And really getting to this idea of, like, everybody needs to be themselves. I am not the right Reiki master for everybody. I'm not. Maybe not the right Reiki master for most people. It doesn't matter. I'm the right Reiki master for the right people. And they can only know that if I show up in my authentic self. So I had to get comfortable in my authentic self. And once that happened, the universe let all the tech stuff come together. So that was a big, long story about how I got where Dragonfly came from. I'm going to I'm going to go on to kind of explain where we're at right now, but does anybody have any questions? I know I've been talking for so long. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? If so, you can either put it in the chat or just raise your hand. Thank you, Stephanie. I I tear up around some of it, but it actually like I'm in a pretty good place talking about it, right? And I cannot say enough that I'm so thankful for every moment of my life. Every moment, even the hard ones, and in some ways, especially the hard ones. I'm thankful for all of it. And once you get to a place where you're not victimized by your past moments from the things that happen, it allows you that gratitude and it kind of relieves a lot of the suffering associated with those memories. Okay, so now let me share about our community. So it started with this idea of matching practitioners with people who wanted Reiki, but it has grown to be so much more than that. And it really has become more of a community. And in fact, if I was naming it today, I probably would call it the Dragonfly Reiki community more than marketplace. Yes, we have services. Yes, we have, classes and workshops and all of that stuff. But we are a community. And I have the absolute benefit and privilege of being one of the people that gets to meet with all the practitioners that are currently on Dragonfly, or other ones that are thinking about it. And so I have just gotten the opportunity to meet the nicest people from across the world. And I really do feel, I said earlier today, like we're going through a period of real fear and division. And communities like Dragonfly are the antidote to that, where you can see and hear, people from across the world, all different kind of backgrounds, and still hear so much of your own self in their story. Like there are life themes that resonate. And the beauty of this community is you can find a Reiki master that has had similar experiences, has walked different paths. And that is kind of the strength of this community. So I am going to share my screen now. One second here. Back to Dragonfly. And I did figure out why the universe chose me. The universe chose me because I'm actually not here to build a practice of my own. I'm not supposed to have a kind of one-on-one Reiki practice. I'm here to create opportunities for other Reiki masters. So there is no competition with me. This isn't about building a lineage under me or building a pyramid where I'm the top. This is about a community, about a circle, where every voice is from the newest Reiki master to the most experienced practitioner, is all heard and considered and valued. So we do offer one-on-one sessions. Sorry, I'm going to share my screen, which was the original, which is where it all started. So we do, if you go on, I think you can see my page, the site now. But if you enter Reiki services, you'll see find practitioners. And so you'll see the practitioners we have, and these are the ones that are fully set up. I will say we have about another 200 that, I think about 200 that have shown some interest. Whether or not all of those will follow through right now, who knows? But we do have a large group of other people who are making their way through the system. It is free to join as a practitioner. Currently, it'll be free until September. And there's no cost, there's no ongoing cost to be hosted. So we don't charge you a monthly fee or anything like that. As a Reiki master, you have to be a Reiki master in order to have your services offered. That's the level of which I was guided to kind of set the training. However, if you are a level one or two, we will work with you to get you the training that you need so that you can have the masters to offer your services. So we're here to work with you. Each of the practitioners chooses what services they offer, what schedule they do, what time they work, what their prices are, all of that. We are not here to guide or direct on any of that. So for instance, here's Margaret Mary's, and you can go down and you can see her one-on-ones, her community events, packages she has, and courses that she offers. One of the early additions to, so after we kind of established the services, the one-on-one services, the other thing that came through was a community calendar. And originally what I was envisioning is kind of like, like when you used to go into stores, you'd see a bulletin board with all the different activities. So that's where the idea came out, is that really for a lot of people, you first want to experience someone's energy before deciding if you want to, open up or do a full session with them. And so this is our community calendar. We showcase kind of our regular events. So we do an event like this about every 3 months. And then down here is the weekly kind of the calendar, and you can change the view of that. You can make it so you see the whole month or however you want. And then further down, you can also see the events that we have monthly, weekly, free offerings, classes, etc. So I'm really excited about I love the community calendar because I do think it's one way for us to get more Reiki into our lives, and again, allowing Reiki to meet us where we're at. And it also lets us experience other people's kind of style of Reiki, their energy, from the comfort of our home around our own schedules. About this time last year, though, I did wake up in a bit of a cold sweat where I was like, oh my gosh, I think everybody's economies are going to get really difficult. Nobody's going to have money for Reiki. Like, what are we going to do? Because the reality is Reiki masters are real people, and we want them to be able to make a living out of it so that they can do it more, right? I want to pull people out of their other jobs and get them doing more Reiki because the universe needs more Reiki. But for that to happen, people need to make money. And I pause to say energy exchange is important. So I kind of said to the universe, like, what am I going to do? Like, what are we going to do? Nobody has $100. Like, many people who used to be able to afford Reiki simply can't financially afford it right now. And even more people who might be open to trying Reiki, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that if they can't, if they're struggling to pay their bills. So I asked the universe for a solution, and it brought me a solution. And these are community circles and experiences. And so what these are is, it came to me that not only do people need a financially easier way to try Reiki, but we are missing community in modern life. I'm really fortunate I have a strong community around me, but I didn't have a strong Reiki community around me. I used to go and do these classes, these Reiki classes, and I used to say it was like my, finding an oasis in the desert. And for 2 or 3 days, I'd be in these wonderful, little oases of Reiki energy and healing. But then the class was over, and out of the oasis, I went back to real life. And so I did want to I was guided to create space where that community, that sense of community, that oasis could be extended and more present. And so these community circles or experience, they are $20 events. So they happen regularly. Community circles are kind of like Reiki meets support groups, essentially. And the experiences are more kind of mystical in nature and don't tend to happen as regularly. But in either event, they're $20 to attend, or they're free as a part of a membership, which we'll talk about shortly. And really what it is, it allows the Reiki practitioners in our community to really hone in on the area and the audience that they feel called to work with. And these events are, again, some are often weekly, some bi-weekly, some monthly. And they really do pull, a lot of different key areas together. And you can find those, you can see what's available if you go to, under the website, under included member experiences. So if you scroll down there, you'll see all the current ones we have. And a lot of these people are actually presenting in the next 2 days, so it's a great way to kind of check in and see what they're doing. And so this is really an opportunity for people to have meaningful, regular contact with Reiki and implement it in their life in a way that they can financially afford. So again, they're $20 a pass, a ticket. You'll see some tickets. So for instance, Jeff has a bunch that are free right now, as does Kieran. So there's typically free events going on in the community, which I'll talk about in a second. But so around this whole same time, we were working with another marketing lady, and she actually brought to us that we should be doing memberships, that memberships were a way to really cement in an activity into people's lives. And so under her, with her assistance and allowing the Reiki energy to come in and guide us, we did create memberships. So I'm just going to go over those very quickly. So we have 4 levels of membership. You can see them all there. The difference, I guess, starting with what's in common, they all get full access to our meditation library. Our meditation library, we have a free one, which is open to the public, but then we have a members-only meditation library that has in excess of 200 meditations right now from all different practitioners over all kinds of different topics. Including, for instance, Margaret Mary, who's going to present later. She has a whole Kid Reiki series, which literally has a meditation for every year, including preconception, all the way up to death, where a guided meditation that relieves the trauma from each year. We have ones for people and their animals. We have ones for children. I've created a whole meditation series for children called Amelia and the Magic Cloud. Cami has also collaborated with me on that to record them in French for children, for French children. So that you get full access to that whole meditation library under any of the levels of the memberships. Under the second one, Align, that's when you start getting tickets to live events. So under the Align, you can pick each month one of the community sessions included in your membership. And then you also get an additional monthly event called the Align Monthly Group. That is the group that I'm currently leading. We just get together. I lead you through a guided group meditation. The next one up is Balance. It's more money, but you get 2 seats. And then you also get, 2 seats in the community events, the $20 events. And then you also get access to both an Align and a Balance monthly group. So those are basically every other week. There's either the Align group or the Balance group. And again, that's just a kind of a group meditation that's led by me. And then the third level is Thrive. So Thrive gives you 4 seats, so you can basically do one a week. And then there's also a third Thrive group as well. So then you get 4 tickets a month to sessions of your choice, the community sessions, and then 3 sessions led by me. So that's a total of 7 Reiki events. In addition, you get 20% off all other services and sessions that we offer under Thrive, 15% under Balance, and Alive under 10. So it's really about making, if you want to kind of go down this Reiki path or you really want to return to it and cement it in your daily life, that's what all these memberships are designed to do, is just to make it really easy for you to incorporate Reiki into your life, whether that's by listening to meditations as you fall asleep, I listen to meditations while I'm waiting for my daughter, activities and stuff, right? Sitting in my car. Just really making it really easy to bring Reiki into your everyday life. And so you can do those monthly. There's also an option, I think, to do it annually for a cheaper amount. But so that's all up there. And as we mentioned in the chat, we have 2 offers for the community for this spring celebration. You can do 1 month free. No obligation. You can cancel after the month if you find it's not for you. It's really about it's not about locking you in. It's about giving you opportunity to kind of explore and see if this is aligned for you. The second option is if you know that this is something that you need in your life to help ground you and guide you. We also have a 20% off coupon for life. So that means you would get 20% off the monthly cost forever, no matter. So if in the future the price goes up, you'll always get 20% off as long as that membership is active. And then as an added bonus, at the end of May 8th, we're going to draw one name of the new people to sign up, and they will get their membership free for a year. So on our site, just going back to, and I would encourage you guys all to go and explore the site because there is new stuff being added all the time. So, you can see we've got the meditation library, we have Reiki resources, we have information about our community, including Reiki articles that are written by our community members. You can hear, we have a podcast library again, if you want to get experience about the different people who are in the community. We get more about my story, about our values, our charitable works. We have a scholarship program. We partner with organizations and businesses. We love partnering with them. So basically what we do under the corporate and organization is if we have a group that partners with us, we give their staff and volunteers full access to the meditation library, the Calm membership. And we can also give discounts on the other packages if they want, just to make those resources available for their staff. And in exchange, we ask them to kind of let people know about our different workshops, about our community, about the stuff that we have here. So for that energy exchange. And you can contact us right through the website if you're interested in, doing some collaboration. We have why join. I won't go through all of that. I'll let you do that. Hosting an event. So we welcome any Reiki master of any lineage to host in our community. We do up the graphics. We set everything up. We collect the money, and then we send it on to you. I won't go into all the details of that, but and then under shop we have our Reiki packages, which is different practitioners pull together their own different packages, and then we create the graphics and get them all ready. I can also give guidance on how to, what to put in your packages and pricing and stuff like that. And then we have our brand new Dragonfly Reiki Botanicals. This literally just launched this morning. So these are therapeutic grade oils. We're going to learn more about those in the next session, led by Sarah Spangler, who developed this line for us. Yeah, so there's so much going on in this community. There's more and more and more and more all the time, and this is really just the beginning. There is no, I always say that the focus here in this community is this isn't about competition. This is about collaboration. This is about helping the people that come to us find the right Reiki master for them, even if it isn't us. This is about developing a support system of like-minded people who are focused on healing. Creating a space where you can be your authentic self, where you can talk about these big ideas, where you can, talk about the discoveries you have about yourself. And you can do that in a safe, secure way. Whether you're brand new to Reiki or been doing it for 20 years, we want you in this community. We want to create a space where you can heal and where you have other people that you can discuss that with, who you can seek out. We all learn from each other, and Dragonfly creates an opportunity for that. On the practitioner side, again, until September, it's free to sign up. In September, there will start being a small fee to sign up. It's not going to be massive, and we would never let that in and of itself bar somebody from being on the site. Once you are a practitioner on the site, there is no cost to be hosted on there. How it works, and I cannot emphasize this enough, transparency is massive for me. So we take 20% and send on everything else for the sessions, the workshops, all of that. So we collect the money when people book. We keep 20%, send 80% on to you. We absorb all of the fees, like all of the PayPal fees, the Stripe fees, the credit card fees. We absorb all of that, leaving you just 80%. There's no other fees associated with it. With the exception of the community events, practitioners make $10 for every person that attends. Whether we have given away that seat, whether the seat was purchased for $20 or whether it was a part of a membership, it doesn't matter for the practitioners. We give them $10 US for each person that shows up. And again, you can come and go as is in aligned with your goal. We are a community where there is no pressure. I always tell practitioners, if I ask you to do something and your first thought is no, that's okay. I'm not going to be offended. We only want people to do what is in aligned with them. Just like our clients and our students, if you're new to Reiki, we want you to come and heal in a way that feels right for you. So, we don't need another Amanda. We don't need another Margaret Mary. We need you working on your authentic self and being, a vibrant part of this community. So Reiki really meets you where you're at, and that is the guiding principle. One of the guiding principles for Dragonfly as well, is we want to meet you where you're at. And if that means you're in your basement because you're not ready to leave your basement, great. If that means, you've got 15 minutes a month to do a meditation, great. You need that 15 minutes. We really are here to remove all barriers to people giving and receiving Reiki, however that looks. And I really do want to emphasize the community circles, the community Reiki events, the Dragonfly community circles. They are so amazing in their topics. It has been such a privilege to work with the different practitioners in what they're hosting and what they feel called to host. And I always tell people to create what you needed kind of 10 steps ago. What did you need when you were going through the messy middle? And that's what these wonderful kind souls have created. I also host events in the group, both a soul check-in, which I'm going to do later today, as an example, so people know what it's like. And then also, we do a Reiki mixer once a month where anyone with any level of Reiki can come, and it's just a chance for people to come and meet each other and descend to each other. Again, as a community, we have decided that it is very important to us that there will always be free events in our community, frequent free events. So Margaret Mary hosts a weekly Reiki Share, World Peace Share, that is free to attend. Thank you for that, Margaret Mary. We also release new meditations each Sunday to just allow people to have that, again, that way to check in with themselves each week and that new meditation. And we're here to help you create whatever, as a Reiki master, whatever you feel called to create. I'm here to help, my job isn't to build a practice for me, it's to help you build your practice if that's what you want. And for the clients, I'm we're here to remove barriers and to make it accessible. Again, the beauty of the time zones is that it doesn't matter where you're at or what your schedule's like. We will have a practitioner because of time zones that is free when you're available. Any questions on any of that, guys? If there is, just feel free to unmute or raise your hand if you want to, yeah, or put it in the chat. Okay. So we are open to everybody. As I was saying, it doesn't matter where you're at on your healing journey or whether you are, seasoned Reiki master or whether you are still a skeptical newbie. And I want to pause to say that there is nothing wrong with being skeptical. I was very skeptical for a long time. And that was important for me to be honest about that skepticism. The truth can handle questioning. And so Reiki can handle your questioning. It's okay for you to question. This isn't faith-based, it's consent-based. So feel free to ask the questions. Feel free to be skeptical. I always say polite skeptics are welcome. Take what resonates, and it's okay to ignore what doesn't. So if you feel called to this work, but you're not sure where to start, contact me. My email is mandy@dragonflyreiki.me. We are a grassroots community. I do this in my spare time. My sister, again, has 3 kids at home and works, is working on all of this. We are not this big, well-funded organization. We're not owned by the same people as Christian Mingle and Ashley Madison. We are a grassroots community looking to make Reiki more accessible to anyone who seeks it wherever they are, while removing as many barriers as we can for Reiki masters who want to share their gift. And that's what drives everything we do. So I have rattled on long enough. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to answer them. We are going to go into a meditation, though. I want to end in a meditation. And that meditation is really going to focus on just allowing the energy to come in and lay before you what the next step should be on your individual path. So keeping in mind that I have talked for like an hour, I'm going to suggest that we take 5 minutes just so everyone can get up, use the bathroom. I'm going to center myself and get ready, get a drink, and then I'll lead you through this guided meditation. So feel free to do whatever you need to do to make yourself comfortable. And I'll see you in 4 minutes. So 20 after the hour, wherever you are. Thanks, guys. Okay, everybody. I just realized that I thought I had 15 more minutes than I did. So this is going to be a quick meditation, which is fine. You don't need to, I love that Reiki fits into your life and whatever you have to get it. So you don't necessarily need an hour in the energy or even 20 minutes in the energy to get benefit. So we're just going to do just a very quick, probably 7 or 8 minutes meditation. And then I'm actually going to invite you to write afterwards. So this is something called automatic writing. basically what it is you just allow yourself to freely write without any censorship, without worrying about spelling or structure or anything. Just let it pour out of you when you're done. So I would encourage you, if you have a piece of paper and pen, or, even typing on your phone, whatever is the easiest way for you, just to let that pour out of you afterwards. And I find that any meditation I do, is the benefits of it and the clarity is greatly extended if I have an opportunity to write afterwards. So I'm going to try to start the music. Now, for some reason today, other people can hear the music, but I cannot. So if somebody could just let me know in the chat, if you guys can hear the music, or give me a thumbs up, or something, that would be super helpful. Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. Can you hear the music? Sorry. Yes. Thank you, Fiona. Okay, everybody. I'm just going to invite you now just to get comfortable. Gently allow your eyes to close. To take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, pushing it all the way down to your belly, and slowly releasing out through your mouth. Let your body soften. Just let your mind be quiet. And imagine that you're surrounded by calm, steady, supportive energy. There's nothing that you need to force, nothing you need to figure out, just to simply allow yourself to be. Now gently bring your awareness inward and ask yourself quietly, what is my next step? What is my next step? You don't need to know the whole path or even the final destination, just the next step. Allow the energy now to guide you, to show you through a feeling, an image, a thought, whatever way it communicates best with you. Just allow this beam of energy from the highest heaven, with all the Reiki symbols we have now or may ever have, guiding and directing you. As thoughts arise, be curious, not critical. energy to bring you clarity, release any fear that's holding you back, allowing you to step into your moment, your purpose, your path. It feels right. Allow the energy to release any attachment to struggle, any doubts, any limiting beliefs. You are enough. You are worthy. And your unique, authentic self is needed on this planet. You are not a mistake. Who you are is not a mistake. Allow the energy to continue to guide you, to heal you. Whenever you're ready, I invite you to bring your attention back to your eyes. Slowly open your eyes and come back. If you're able to, just allow yourself to write. Just let it pour out of you. Allow the question to be answered. What is your next step? What's the right step that's right for you? And I set the intention that Reiki continue flowing to this question as you write over the course of the next days. Just allow your healing journey, your self-care to really come to the forefront of your life. I want to thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate you guys coming and hearing about our community and everything that we're doing and everything that we hope to do. We literally just scratched the surface, so please come be a part of our community. You know, we're here to help. We legitimately care about you and you discovering your authentic self. Thank you for the kind comments. Sorry you guys didn't have more time and the energy. Everybody else I'm co-hosting for, but I didn't plan for a co-host for my session, so we'll do that next time. We're always learning and evolving. Next up, we have Sarah Spangler's presentation on essential oils. So she is going to be talking about the essential oils that she chose. You know, in the future, we dream of having a large line, but we've started with some of the core ones. So she's going to be talking about what that looks like, how Reiki works with oils, all of that. And if you didn't sign up for that and you're wishing now that you had, I am just going to pop in the comments the join instructions. So if you wanted to join, Sarah is a lovely soul and has again, that's the benefit of this community. I do not have enough time in this life to learn about, become an expert on everything that I'm interested in, but that's the strength of the community. We do have just a diverse group of practitioners who all bring different life experiences and expertise. So Sarah is an expert in oil. She has actual training associated with it. Margaret Mary, for instance, is our medical Reiki expert, along with other things. We've got Nancy Welch that works with animals. We got Jess that does forest therapy. This morning, Cami did some face yoga with us, infused with Reiki. We have Akashic Records. We've got all these layers of depth in our community. So it's a wonderful place for you to be nurtured and for you to nurture others. So I want to thank you all again so much, and again invite you to hang around for the next session and the next 2 days. And please, by all means, reach out to me. I'm actually going to put my email in the chat for everybody. We are just a grassroots organization looking to help as many as we can. So thank you all again. Please feel free to reach out, and I'll see you guys overall in the next session. Thank you.